John is an interesting guy. He had a lot of different things. It was a tough life for him. He's living out there in the desert, eating on locusts and things like that. He doesn't have any friends, it looks like, no family, doesn't really have a community. He's out there by himself, but he's out there preaching and saying, "Hey, this is what's happening." And said, I don't know if I really would like John the Baptist or a life like John the Baptist. But there was something really good about him when they said, what should we do? And they didn't put out really strange things that we should be doing. He was saying, just be honest, be careful, don't make people look bad. So he had a good sense of how we should be living. But I was looking at the readings today, and John the Baptist is obviously something to be really talked about. But there's something else about this, especially in the second reading. It's quite interesting. How many people, I want you to raise your hand, if you're having a bad day, something's not going right, whatever, maybe with the family, whether with the business, whether with school or something like that, and you're really kind of down in the dumps. And somebody comes up and says, be happy. Raise your hand if that's happened to you. Never? You've never had that happen? Oh, people are afraid to hand down. Yeah. We all have had that, okay? We've all had that. And you kind of want to smack them. Now, we don't do that, but we want to. What's going on here? How can you tell somebody to be happy, to be joyful? Well, that's what St. Paul did. He's telling you and me today to, be there. Take this. This is something really, really great. Be happy. Be joyous. And I say it again, be joyful. He's telling us, he's ordering it. It's in the imperative voice. It's a command. Monsignor, you cannot command somebody to be joyful. Well, John the Baptist did. St. Paul did. Jesus did. He tells us that it's something to really do this. It's hard. It's hard because there's a lot of tough stuff in our home, in our lives, in our families, in our world. We know that. We have, people get sick, people die, people lose jobs. All kinds of things go wrong. And there's so many times that, gosh, how can I be joyful? How can I have joy in those kinds of times? Well, it's not what we think. Those kinds of good things and bad things are going to happen. We live in a sinful world. And we know that. And we're all sinners and things happen to us. But there's something much, much more important. Think about somebody like Francis of Assisi. He had a tough life. And yet here he is with all these things. People are kind of looking at and laughing at him and all sorts of things. He comes out, he's credited with actually having what we have in today in the crush, the manger scenes. And he just had, something was about him. There was something about him that people were when they were around him, they said, what has this guy got that I don't? Somebody like Thomas More. I mean, he was at the top of the pile. right next to the king. And, as you know, he was beheaded. But, as he was going up the gallows, he was telling the executioner, please be careful, don't mess up the beard, it's really good. So, he's laughing and telling jokes. You have people like that. The sisters, the Carmelite sisters in Campania, France, who were all put to death, going up the gallows, singing the Salve Regina with smiles on their face. How can you have joy in that time of time? And, Mother Teresa, she had all kinds of things going on. And yet, she was filled with joy. She had that. She had that joy. And if we take a little further in that second reading, have no anxiety. How many of us go through life with no anxiety? Oh, so you do. Oh, okay, all right. But in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving. Now, do we thank God when things don't go right? It's kind of hard, isn't it? It's really kind of hard. But when we do that, St. Paul says, then the peace of God will come upon us. That shalom, that deep, deep choice of joy. Joy it's a choice. It's a choice. We have to choose to be that way. And that's not easy. But it is putting ourselves in the very heart of God. So let's think about that in this Advent as we're waiting for the King of Peace, the King of Shalom, who is coming to us again. Are we striving for that? Are we striving to have that joy? That's what God wants. A joy that nobody can take away. Yes, there will be times when we're upset, when things don't go right. That's true. All that's true. But none of us have to live with cynicism, with sadness. None of us have to live that way. We are called to something much greater. So the last couple of weeks of Advent, be thinking about that. Maybe do some extra service. Go to Mass during the week. Do a rosary. And really strive to say, God, I want to have this shalom, this joy. That's what God wants us to live right here on this earth. And we have to choose. It's not going to happen easily, but we have to make the right choices. So let us do this in this Advent and see how God can truly touch us. And we have, in fact, one of the things we're doing this Sunday, the Giving Sunday that we've been doing here for a few years, and giving up and giving something out to somebody who is maybe will have a better Christmas because we did some charity. Those are the kinds of things that we can do. And when it's time for this to happen, right after the petitions, then the ushers will come up and they'll have little baskets, and you put your envelopes and stuff in that, and then we'll also have several people helping to take the presents that are here and bring them up on the altar, and say, we did something good. We did something good. That's how we get to live in peace. And remember remember that every single day, no matter what, is a joy. Every day is a joy.